as the clock struck 4 and the sounds of the battle ceased, it was my Carolina Panthers who came out on top of the battle of the bottom feeders against the Miami Dolphins, 27-24. And in this video, I'm going to do as I do after each and every game and provide you all with a few awards for some performances I saw put forth out there on the field for my Carolina Panthers. And we're going to get into all of that right after this.
I'm from the foe, you dig?
Welcome to The Way I See It with Jamario Rashad. This is a Carolina Panthers fan channel. Please do me a favor by hitting the like button and please make sure you subscribe as I am on my road to 3K. Trying to make sure my channel continues to grow this season. Now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and get to the video. As you can see in my little clip that I included in the video, that I was in attendance at today's game. And unfortunately, although we came out on top, there was one particular player that did everything in their power at the beginning of the game to make sure that victory at the end would not be obtained. And that player is in fact who you are seeing on your screen as of now, that being Bryce Young winning his very first "You Should Have Stayed Your Ass in the Locker Room" award. Bryce Young, you polarizing, divisive young man. You are. I don't understand what it is with you in the first quarter. Somehow, some way, you forget everything that Nick Saban, your father, and any Pee-wee football coach has ever taught you the first 15 minutes of the game. Then you go on to whatever, I guess, get your knowledge back in your head. But I do not care how this game ended in terms of the scoreboard at the end. It is inexcusable for Bryce Young to continue to put us in the holes that he is putting us in at the beginning of these games, despite the outcome. I refuse to sit here and give Bryce Young any damn credit for getting us out of the hole that his little ass put us into. I do not give a damn what anybody has to say. The Carolina Panthers ran 5 total plays in the first 15 minutes of this game. The first quarter, Bryce Young allowed us to have 5 total offensive plays run because he fumbled the ball, not even on a strip fumble, not even on a sack. He literally just dropped the damn ball because his little measly hands couldn't hold on to the pigskin. That is 1000% unacceptable. And then we get into the second quarter. We are only 7 plays into the Carolina Panthers offense in this game, and on the 7th play, he throws an interception into double coverage to Xavier Legette, who has not been able to make any type of play like that since he's been here with the Carolina Panthers. I don't understand it whatsoever. Bryce Young is allergic to prosperity in the beginning of the game. I liken Bryce Young, if you watch the NBA, if you have any knowledge of how NBA fan bases work, I liken Bryce Young to Miami Heat fans. They don't really show up until it's damn near halftime, but they're damn sure going to be there supporting the team in the second half. That's how I see Bryce Young. He can never go in, start the game, and put us out there well. He always has to make some type of untimely mistake that puts us behind the sticks, and he did that twice in the first 10 plays of the scripted plays that they know that they are going to run beginning the game. So for that reason, that is completely unacceptable. So you, sir, Bryce Young, you should have stayed your ass in the locker room, sir. Congratulations. We won despite of Bryce. I don't care. I don't care what anybody has to say today. Yes, he's the quarterback. Yes, he threw some dimes out there. We won in spite of Bryce Young's mistakes, and I refuse to let it go unsaid today. But that is all of the locker room awards for this week. Fortunately, we were able to come out on top. So when we have a victory, there are going to be a lot of people that deserve a lot of kudos for leading us to that victory. But in this particular case, there is no other player that deserves this high of praise aside from this week's very first Baller Award winner, Rico Dowdle, who had himself a game. Rico Dowdle was on fire the entirety of the 4 quarters of this game. For 60 straight minutes, Rico Dowdle was completely balling. He had the most rushing yards in a single game for a Carolina Panther in over a decade. He had 234 all-purpose yards, but what was most impressive is what he was able to do on the ground. 206 yards rushing, only 6 yards short of a Carolina Panthers single game record held for over a decade now by D'Angelo Williams. He had 211 yards back in 2012. Rico Dowdle was just 6 yards short of having the best rushing game a Carolina Panther has ever had in the history of this game. He had 9 yards per carry, but what was even more impressive is that he did not let up at all when it came to actually catching the ball, because he also had 9 yards per catch, to the tune again of 234 total yards. This is the benefit of picking up a 1,000-yard rusher on like day 2 or 3 of free agency for just under a few $1,000,000 after the Dallas Cowboys, who are coming to town next week to face this monster, unfortunately just dumped him. But fortunately for us, another man's trash is another team's treasure, and Rico Dowdle came in here and absolutely shined in this Week 5 game against the Miami Dolphins. So for that reason, Rico Dowdle, you are this week's very first recipient of the Baller Award. Shout out to number 5. Man, let's go, man. Rico was absolutely killing it. Absolutely killing it. Something that we did not expect. We looked at this as an opportunity that we might see a little bit more out of Trevor Etienne being that third string guy, because we didn't have Chuba Hubbard in this game. Rico Dowdle said, none of that. I will be the bell cow. I will be the first, second, third, and fourth down back if you need me to do so. So shout out to that guy. But he was not the only engine that kept this team running on the cylinders that it was able to do today. So when we look at this team, there have been a lot of new additions that have come in and had early impacts for the Carolina Panthers. And so for that reason, I cannot pick just one player to highlight with this next award. So winning the second Baller Award, the entire 2025 Carolina Panthers draft class. Each and every one of these guys single-handedly did something individually that led to the prosperity of the Carolina Panthers and led to us getting this highly unlikely victory as we moved into the early portion of this game, down 17-0. Our young guys were a key factor to keeping us in this game, starting first and foremost with the top 10 pick, 8th overall, of course, T-Mac Teteroa McMillan, continuing to be an absolute baller, proving why he was worth so much draft capital, as I continue to laud him for each and every week. This should have been his second 100-yard game in just the first 5 weeks of the season, but he had an absolutely egregious penalty called back, a clear pass interference that would have been worth near 30-40 yards, that would have put him over that 100-yard mark for the second time in only 5 games in his young career. But he was not the only person that was out there helping us. Somebody that is not going to get a lot of the credit for what they were able to do in this game, because their biggest and most impactful play did not result in something that is going to be accredited to him in the stat sheet. That being Nick Scorton, who had an absolute monstrous pressure coming off the right side of that line, getting to Tua Tagovailoa, getting a pressure, making him step up, and actually making him run right into the waiting arms of A'Shawn Robinson. So the sack in the score sheet is going to go to A'Shawn Robinson, but who is responsible for the defense as a whole being able to record that sack? That is Nick Scorton, who came who came screaming off the edge, made an inside move, made him uncomfortable, and made that play happen. That is something that we're starting to see on a much more regular basis, and it's something that we can look for in the near future, although he had a few less snaps than we've seen over the last couple of weeks because we had our penciled in starters in DJ Wanham and Pat Jones coming back. Nick Scorton continues to shine and show why we picked him so high in the second round of the 2025 draft. So moving to the third round of said 2025 draft, we have Princely Umanmielen, the guy who has been the most impressive of the young pass rushing duo that we drafted in the 2025 draft. I'm going to stop saying that so much, I promise. But in this game, he did not do anything flashy. He did not do anything that popped off the screen. But what he did do was continue to show improvement against the run, proving that he is not going to continue to just get washed, and showing that as he continues to have a week over week matriculation of his experience and the progression and development of his skills, he is going to be somebody that is going to be able to play on more than just third down, somebody that is going to be able to be in the game for more than just pass rush purposes, somebody that's going to be in there to be more than just a rotational guy. And that is what we were able to see out of Princely Umanmielen. Then we move to the fourth round, be it our safety pick, Lathan Ransom. He is another guy like Princely Umanmielen who did not make any flashy plays that jumped off the screen per se, but what he continues to do is show the value of him being out there on the field playing an extended role, as we chose to have our big money offseason signing safety Trayvon Morig play closer to the line of a scrimmage in a more hybrid safety linebacker role, which I truly think he is more suited for. Lathan Ransom was playing in the playing back deep next to Nick Scott, being a steady piece and not letting anything except for that one deep ball, which was not his fault. I don't even know if he was in on that play. That deep ball that they scored late in the game. Lathan Ransom was a complete steady hand in this game, and he is somebody that continues to show why they deserve more snaps moving forward. So then moving even further down in the 2025 draft to another fourth or fifth round pick. I can't remember. Either way, we picked him this year, be it tight end from Notre Dame, Mitchell Evans, who recorded his second touchdown in 2 consecutive games on the season. Mitchell Evans only has 6 catches, but 33% of those catches have been for touchdowns. If he continues on this trajectory, he is on his way to being the greatest tight end in the history of football. Of course, that is not going to happen, but damn, let me dream. Mitchell Evans has been a big surprise so far, but the next player and the last player for the 2025 draft class baller awards is somebody that has been the most anticipated player, that has been a head scratching, that has caused a lot of head scratches as to why he has been inactive so far through 4 games. But in week 5, he showed why we selected him and why he definitely deserves to be in this wide receiver rotation on a week-to-week basis. That being Jimmy Horn Jr., who had a outstanding game for somebody who only had 2 receptions. What he did was have impactful plays. Although his first few touches didn't go for much, we tried him on a few jet sweeps, on a few quick routes. What he was able to do was make a big splash play as the Carolina Panthers were scratching and clawing back into this game, fighting for a game-winning drive in the fourth quarter. He was able to convert a 17-yard fourth down conversion catch, moving the sticks, allowing for the Carolina Panthers to continue that game-winning drive, and showing why he deserves again to be much more involved in the wide receiver rotation. What was most disappointing was the fact that he was not utilized either as a kick returner nor a punt returner. I am not at practice. I don't know what Tracy Smith sees, but hopefully moving forward, we will see him back there fielding these kicks, not even necessarily fielding, but returning these kicks and punts, because newly acquired guy DJ Dallas looks like we have Eddie Lacy back there returning kicks, and that's just simply not a good look for the Carolina Panthers. So for all of those long-winded reasons, the 2025 Carolina Panthers draft class is a Week 5 Baller Award winner. Shout out to the young boys. Yes, sir. All them boys balled out. Shout out to ETN as well. He had a good run in the end. Didn't have enough room on the graphic, but just know sending shots out to him as well, man. But that is going to wrap up the Baller Awards. But I do have a few honorable mentions that I want to give a little bit of credit and a few pats on the back too. So let's go ahead and get right into these guys. First of all, we have big number 95, best player on the team, big money defensive tackle, Derrick Brown, who honestly did not do anything spectacular in this game. But when you hold a Miami Dolphins team and a dynamic running back, the likes of a Devon Achane, to only, 19 yards rushing through 4 quarters of NFL football, the core and the center of your defense has to get a lot of credit for that. But what I want to give him the most credit for is he did something early in this game that, although Derrick Brown has been an all-world player, a Pro Bowler, and a future All-Pro, hopefully, he did something early in this game that we are not accustomed to seeing him do often, and that is actually get to the quarterback for a sack. He has very few sacks in his young short career so far, but being able to get to Tua Tagovailoa in the fashion that he did is something that would make myself and all other Carolina Panthers fans smile, because that is the missing piece and the final thing that is holding Derrick Brown back from being one of, if not the best defensive tackle in the game. But secondly, I want to give a shout out to newly acquired over the offseason outside linebacker, defensive end, however you want to categorize the guy, that being Pat Jones II, who in fact made the game-sealing play, getting a sack on Tua to put the game out of reach for the Miami Dolphins and go ahead and guarantee that victory for the Carolina Panthers. So although he did not shine all game, that one play was so impactful that I refuse to go throughout this video without giving him a shout out, man. But finally, the last player that we are going to talk about is somebody that the Carolina Panthers have been very, very disappointed in so far. That being Xavier Legette, who after today's performance has officially earned his name back over the last few weeks and since the season has started. Unfortunately, with this disappointing play, I have not been able to bring myself to give him and call him a cool nickname like XL. I had to call him something completely different. But what we saw today was that whatever mental hurdles that Xavier Legette had been facing over the last few weeks, that wasn't enough to hold him down in this game. Although he only had 2 catches for 31 yards and a touchdown, what he did on those 2 catches was show us show us that he's able to do what he's been lacking throughout this season so far. We have been asking him and begging him to be able to just make plays with his hands, stop depending on being a body catcher, and that is exactly what he did for his end zone catch and his touchdown. We have been begging him to make sure that he is able to read the sidelines, get both feet down in bounds, and make sure that he is able to move the chains when he is targeted on those out routes. And that is exactly what he was able to do with his second catch on the game. So although he did not do anything like go over 100 yards or just have an immaculate game, what he did do was give us Carolina Panthers fans a little more of a reason to have confidence in him, a second-year first-round pick who still has a lot to show us. So I want to give a shout-out to not only Xavier Legette, but Derrick Brown and Pat Jones as well, man. But what do you all think about this week's award? Do you think there's anybody else that deserve to be individually highlighted, whether that be for needing to stay their ass in the locker room or just being individual ballers? Whatever you think, make sure to leave your comments down in the comment section, and I'll be sure to get back to you then. But until next time, I am Jamario Rashad. This is the way I see it, and I'm out. Peace.